My name is Olayinka David, but I'm popularly called Kitan David. And I'm the co-founder for Planet Nest. That's the talent accelerator for software engineers. And I run Seed Dev. Yeah. So I'll practically say I was not particular about entrepreneurship when I was a child. I think I was just more particular about living a better life than I had. And me choosing entrepreneurship was not as a result of me wanting a better life. Along the line, I became a problem solver, a team leader. And then back then in school, we always go to competitions and win one or this. We won 15 competitions, both national and international, in our stay in the Federal University of Technology, Akure. That's myself alongside my current co-founder. And we created awesome stuff, and then we feel like, okay, let's sell this. Let's build a company around this. So my choice of entrepreneurship cannot be totally linked to me when I was a child, because I remember I applied for a job before I got in school, and I was doing it and I was happy. I was not thinking of leaving my boss to start my own business. But then we created stuff, and then people felt it was good. We felt it was good, and we decided to build a company around it. And that's how I found myself in entrepreneurship. So I did a couple of buying and selling in school. I remember, so I used to sell jewelry. I sell chains. For ladies though, I had to stop because people were people started thinking I was gay, so I had to stop that. But for tech entrepreneurship, my dad would always tell us stories before we sleep at night. I mean, he did that for as young as I could remember till I was 14 years of age, every night. And then my dad's stories centered around rich people. My dad is a missionary, by the way. If he's not talking about Abraham, he's talking about David, he's talking about Solomon, he's talking about Fela Anikulapo Ransom Kuti, he's talking about Michael Jackson, Bob Marley, Bill Gates. And I grew up in a remote part of Ileife. So my dad would, I went to 6 primary schools. My dad would not take you to a school that doesn't have a computer lab. By a computer lab, at least one computer system. So I got very interested in tech. I used every operating system from MS-DOS till date. I've used Sun Solaris. I've met only few Nigerians that have used Sun Solaris. I've used the Linux, the Ubuntu series, and obviously the Mac OS. And getting into school, so I wrote JAM 4 times. And the reason why I wrote JAM 4 times was because I was hell-bent on studying computer science and economics, which was only offered in Obafemi Awolowo University. Eventually, I studied computer science in FUTA. So I have a passion for tech. I have a passion to build something technology-driven. And then I decided to fuel that passion academically. So when my creative side started maturing, I wanted to do tech. I wanted to write codes. I wanted to do animation. I wanted to do graphics, anything around the computer. So that's for me tech entrepreneurship. So I don't believe in passion. I tell a lot of young people, passion doesn't help you. Truthfully, it's a hard truth. If you are passionate on the wrong thing, it will never make it right. So there was passion, yeah. So passion is a good ingredient if you're on the right lane. So let's get on the right lane first, then can I be passionate about it. So I wouldn't technically say passion. I would say yes, I was confident. I was totally confident about what I was doing. I wasn't sure of what exactly the results would be, but I was sure that the results would be good. I had a picture of good in my mind. Although, from my experience now, I discovered that those things that we had like a 10-year goal for, we achieved it in like 6 years. And those things that we had a 3 months goal for, a lot of them we didn't achieve it at all. So I had issues setting goals, I had issues focusing, but I'm somebody driven by data. I'm driven by statistics, and I'm driven by counsel. So I have a lot of people I talk to that have gone through this road ahead of me in career, in life, in finance, and I'm like, hey, help me check what I'm doing. Is it right? Yeah, a couple of times I've disobeyed. Yeah, like I didn't want to go their path. Some of them turned out to be good. Some of them I learned my lessons the hard way. But then I had multitude of people telling me this and that, and I'm able to put everybody's brains together plus mine and make a right decision. So the generation that we are in is believing so many lies. So we read stories of people like Bill Gates, we read stories of Steve Jobs, and then we feel these guys made things that, in quotes, nobody needed as at the time they were making it. And now they are the talk of the town. And everybody wants to be like that. But that's not the generation we are in right now. These guys were born at a separate time, right? The time that we are in now is make what people want. People are not going to buy what they don't want, right? And then if you make what people want, I mean, the way people will take it from you and use it and it grows will be awesome to you yourself. So a perfect example is Instagram. When Instagram started, I'm sure the founder did not know this is what Instagram will look like next few years, but people are narcissists. People want to take selfies. People want to show themselves to the world. And then text is not just helping them do that. So they needed photos. And there were a couple of other platforms. There was Flickr. There was like a lot. But this guy, for one reason or the other, made it something mobile, something handy, something swift. And you understand that all the upgrades of Instagram has been built around needs and requests of the people using it. So that's the generation that we're in. I can't speak for the next generation. I don't know what they will be doing or what they need to do to solve problems and be effective. But right now, we need to make what people want. So when you find out that this is my passion, do people want it? No. There is always something around your passion that people will want. So you can dwell on that and then you grow fast. And eventually you have a market that you can speak to. You have a community of users that you can talk to around what you really want to do. But first, to enter a market, you really need to make what people want. Okay. So I strongly, I have some values. So I believe time cannot be managed. I believe that's why a lot of time management techniques have not worked over the time. Time cannot be managed. Time cannot be spent. If four guys are giving $1,000, if you come back after 24 years, one of them could still be holding on to the $1,000 while the other has spent it, the other has tripled it, and the other has misplaced it. So money can be spent. Time is constant. Time has existed before anybody got here. We have 24 hours in a day. If you are rich, poor, tall, short, it's still 24 hours. So time is constant, time is moving. What we can manage is activities. You can manage you around time. So my leadership skills around projects I manage is I hire people smarter than me. So I like to be in a team where I am the dullest, in quotes, if I can say that. So I hand over projects to people that are more skilled than me, that I'm more of a strategist than an executor. So, and for the mistake we make as strategists is that when we strategize around the concept, around an idea, or we have an insight around something, we feel like we are the only ones that can do it. No. An architect most times doesn't know how to build, right? So when you strategize, when you come up with a project, you find somebody that executes better than you. So when it comes to execution, I hire people that are smarter than me from an execution standpoint, and I make them lead the project so that I can just focus on strategizing. But then, in the first few months of infancy of the project, I'm also involved in operations to keep check and balances. So that's how I manage time around. So I think my biggest challenge was me. I was not evolving as fast as my market was. Yeah, so in like the first 2 years, I was stuck up around an idea that the world doesn't need. And then I was trying hard to make that idea work. I mean, there was an emotional disturbance of, I've worked so much on this idea, I cannot drop it now. The world has to know how awesome this idea is, but they don't need it. So for me, I think that's my toughest challenge. I worked on something so much, so deep, that people don't really need. And then eventually, I had to drop it, but I could have dropped it a long time ago to pick up something else that people need. Yes. Uh, for me, that was like my biggest challenge. Dropping that thing that you call a dream, and you've dreamt about, you've analyzed, you've made financial plans about, and eventually statistics, experience, the market has shown you we don't need this. Can you kindly do this? So in the tech space, careers change 14 times every 2 years. That's the speed that the current tech space is going with. Um, a perfect example I have is, so I see social media managers, social media, whatever, social media this, social media that, and it's now a craze in Nigeria. But when you read stats, when you follow Goldman Sachs, you read Harvard Business Review, that job role is going to end in 2018. The world will not need that again in 2018. Why? Because the technology giants had made promoting your post on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter very easy. I mean, they suggest all the tags you need and all that. So an average man that knows how to use his phone will be able to do that in another few years. It ceases to be a job role for somebody. So these guys need to like evolve. So the way I evolve is I just take in information. Personally, I'm wired to read a lot of books. I read a lot of books, a whole lot of books. But that's for my personal lifestyle and my psychology. But for my business, I have a network of guys that in the same market as I am. And we build a strong community that is, instead of we deciding to compete, we decided to collaborate. So the traditional way of doing business is kill your competition. Don't do anything with them. But I mean, if we all are in business, you have an information I don't have. And the bigger and stronger our market grows, the bigger and stronger our bank accounts will grow too. So a group of guys share the same vision, and then we decided to form a strong community. And that's the way we've been able to keep ourselves in check. So it's like in the army, somebody's watching your back. A basic entrepreneur should be able to learn, and keep learning. Then a basic entrepreneur should be able to get an idea off his head and put it down on paper like as if he doesn't own the business. So when he thinks of that idea, because we are just a connection of so many ideas. We are trying to put so many ideas together. Everything in business is an idea. You have an idea to build a PC and sell. The way you decide to sell is also an idea. The way you decide to hire those who sell for you is an idea. When an idea drops into your mind, you put it up on a piece of paper or your computer, and then snap out of your idea. Look at your idea like as if you are not the one that owns the idea, and see if it makes sense to you. Because a lot of things make sense in our brain that doesn't make sense in the actual market. So I think any entrepreneur that can do that would move fast. The second thing I will actually advise is that in your first phase of business, and for me, first phase is first 5 to 7 years, relationship is key. Relationship is far worth more than money, right? And why we could be money driven and profit driven, we will lose out on relationships. So because a lot can happen in 5 years. Right now, in the tech companies in the US move from valuation of 0 to 1 billion US dollars in 5 years. And the way they are able to do it, most times it's not because the idea is awesome. It's because they are in a cabal, so-called. They have this person on their board, they have that person advising them, they go to this person's birthday party and they're able to meet. I mean, Peter Thiel met Zuckerberg and just gave him one advice. The name the Facebook, can you kindly change it to Facebook? And that was all. This guy met Sean of Napster, and one thing led to another thing and raised his first money. First huge money. So in the first years of business, especially in this side of the world, relationships are far worth more than money. Okay. So mid last year, I decided to put the valuation of my company in billions, and of course not on paper, in actual market valuation. And I needed to do things around it. I needed to make some decisions in the company that will make us generate so much impact, sales, numbers that would actually put our valuation on the billion mark. And so I'm a very playful person. As much as I'm very serious and very playful, So that's where the tagline came in, the billionaire boy, because it became my vision. It was always on my status. From October 1 to October 30, 2016, I wrote something about billions. All this was probably self-motivation and also a bit of iron sharpened iron amidst my friends. And that's where the billionaire boy tagline came in. So I can't put an exact date when I think people start calling me the billionaire boy before I start calling myself the billionaire boy. And I mean, we've been able to do that in the company, so it's fine. When I think, I'm quite crazy. When I'm in my room and I'm thinking, I'm going through a thought process, there are like 7 people hugging inside me, all the same boys. So that's me, like in 7 dimensions. I am not the person that gave me this job asked me to look like. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Yeah, so I would say my competition is me, but that's too cliche. That does not depict how I actually feel. So there is a vision inside me. There's something inside me that I ought to be per time, and I will not be satisfied until I am that. So yes, it changes, but that's like my greatest inspiration. It's just like your dad asking you, an average African dad telling you that if you top the class this term, I'll buy you a bicycle. And then for every time you find out you don't top the term, you feel you owe your dad something. That's how I exactly feel. I feel I have things I've written down, and when I don't do them, I feel like I owe me something. So I believe that every growth process can be accelerated. It takes an average of 14 years for orange to mature from the time you plant it as a seed. But then agricultural scientists have something the public calls agric orange that grows in like 5 years and 6 years. So every growth process can be accelerated. And one way you can accelerate it is to move with people that have gone your line for. So I'll give you an example. I got into school in my teenage, and then I was already writing codes and building stuffs around the system. But then I moved into networks that made me a Microsoft student ambassador. In my 4th year in school, I was a Nokia ambassador for West Africa, and that was a big deal. So I traveled a lot. I got a lot of exposure. I made mistakes on platform that if I could have made it on my own company, it will cost me a lot. I learned things in 6 months that would take another person 7 years to learn. It's not because I'm smarter than the person. It's just because I'm in an environment. So for every young people out there, there is a hunger to make money quick. Money is there. The amount of money in the world will not increase. Money is constant. Value is constant. Matter cannot be created or destroyed, but can transform from one form to another. What we all need to do is to accelerate our growth process. And actually, so I see it as sharpening your knife because you have a big tree to cut. And then somebody else is just going and start eating the tree. So you sharpen your own knife for 5 hours, it looks he has gone a long way. After sharpening your knife for 5 hours, you cut the tree, you felled the tree in like 10 minutes. We are still not gotten to half. So that's how simple it is. Seek experience, volunteer. Volunteering is really, really a bad culture over here. I mean, in some other countries, people have gap year. It's compulsory. You have to volunteer. So volunteer in organizations, you will make a lot of mistakes, but you are making it on another person's platform. You are easily corrected other than making that mistake on your own, because you're just going to slow your own growth. You're going to slow down your own growth when you could have accelerated it. And this idea of be your own boss is actually one of the things that is killing the young people right now. You could be your own boss and you don't have enough impact and you don't make enough profit and the universe does not feel you. And then as an entrepreneur, you even work more than the staff. The staff works 9 to 5. You work 9 till you drop. And then there's nothing to show for it. You get depressed every Friday. Emotional setbacks. So take time to explore and work in another organization. Even if they don't do that thing that is your dream yet, you do yourself a lot of good. So I like to end with the law of compensation. The law of compensation says that the amount of money you will make is directly proportional to the need for what you do, the ability to do what you do, and the difficulty that exists in replacing you. When you understand this, you'll move a long way in your entrepreneurship path and your career path. Thank you, Kitan David.